Hello, good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Cenosco, it is my pleasure to welcome you to our 29th and final Asset Integrity webinar of this year. My name is Ivana, and today we are going to dive into the world of AI. It has been an exciting year, and today we're going to reflect on it, but mainly provide insights into what 2026 is bringing us. Is AI ready for the asset integrity, or is it still just a buzzword? We will be sharing expert insights today, so please stay tuned. We have a special set of speakers today, starting from Cenosco's CEO, Rahul. Rahul has over 10 years of global experience in enterprise SaaS, leading engineering software teams and investing in high growth tech companies. Then I would also like to welcome industry expert Sechkin. He is a metallurgical and material engineer with 20 plus years in integrity, inspection, and corrosion in oil and gas and petrochemicals. And
Right.
lastly, I would also like to welcome our head of domain experts, Rowan. He is a chartered engineer in integrity and corrosion. At Cenosco, he drives innovation and digital transformation in complex engineering environments. So, as mentioned, today, Rahul, Sechkin, and Rowan will share their expert insights and thoughts on what to look for in 2026. They bring three quite different perspectives. Rahul will give us a view of AI through an executive lens. Sechkin will bring the customer perspective, and Rowan is in the unique position of having been a user and now a vendor, so he will bring both perspectives to the discussion. A little bit about the framework. So we will start by looking at where we are today and how AI is currently being utilized in asset integrity management. In the second half of our webinar, we will look ahead at 2026 and beyond. Also, for everyone who asked, yes, we will be touching on Cenosco AI roadmap as well. Later on, we will open the floor for questions. Drop them in the chat, and we will try to answer them live or contact you post-webinar with the replies. And lastly, from my side, if for any reason you experience a bad connection, refreshing your browser would usually do the trick. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the webinar. Rowan, the floor is yours.
Ivana, thank you for the introductions. Well, folks, today's webinar will be a lot different. We are probably going to separate reality from all the buzzwords that we have been hearing in the last 1 to 2 years. We'll talk a lot about practical use cases, real and quick wins, some failures too, and what integrity teams can deploy as of today and what to look forward in the future, right? So maybe Rahul, let's kick off with you. You've been consistently engaging with senior leadership teams and executives across energy organizations, oil and gas, chemicals, petrochemicals, mining as well. So, from your perspective, right, where are we in today's integrity landscape? And what are some common pain points that you have seen across organizations?
Great. Thanks a lot, Rowan. And I think I'm currently in some very interesting company. I feel quite incompetent in some ways to, add my 2 cents because I'm talking to people who spent a lot of time in the industry. You have a lot of in-depth views. The way I'm thinking about it is to be able to add an outsider's perspective. I'm an engineer as well, but I've spent most of my time on the technology side. And I've also spent a lot of time in the last 2 years meeting with a lot of executives at oil, gas, chemical mining companies and listening to them how their thoughts have evolved over the last 24 months, which have been a very interesting time for AI. So it seems like a tale of two cities for me, at least as I engage with customers. Number one, if you talk to users on the ground, people who are executing integrity work, going on inspections, having to manage data and systems like Cenosco's IMS, I think they're still struggling with their day to day. There's a lot of manual work. Most of the time is spent acting like data analysts, and very little time is actually spent on getting insights. When you speak to executives, and I think I, as an executive at Cenosco, when I talk to my board, I have the same challenges, which is AI is a reality. We're in the early stages of AI. People, executives are getting a lot of pressure from their boards, from their managers to have an AI strategy, but you're sort of stuck in limbo. The technology is just getting started. It's very difficult to extract value. I'm sure a lot of our viewers and both of you have heard the MIT study that 95% of all AI POCs are failing. That number hasn't changed in the last quarter. And so every conversation that I've had, at least in the last 9 months, has been, what is Cenosco's AI strategy? How can you deliver me an AI product that I can then take to my leadership? So it's been quite an interesting bipolar view, right? You speak to the users, they're trying to just get through their day to day. You speak to the executive, their incentives are, what is my AI strategy?
Now, good points, Rahul. I think you mentioned you typically highlighted this quite well, right? It's a tale of two cities where the management, senior management, are forcing AI from the top down. However, from the user level, from on the ground level, right, the engineers are still not too optimistic about using AI as part of their day-to-day work processes as well. Sashkan, maybe you can provide an interesting view out here, right? Like what does a user feel like as of today in terms of adopting AI as part of their regular day-to-day work?
Yeah, no, when we look at the regular workflows, most of the time we see that manual work is taking the load. So, in a daily life of an inspection engineer, then we should be thinking about how to replace that burden works that are going with the day-to-day jobs. For example, when they try to create reports, they copy and paste some images, some NDT findings, some UT measurements. So it takes so much time that create those ones. But with the help of AI, then we can create those reports in a more efficient way. But how to integrate into workflows, I think that's the most challenging question. And where we put the AI and where it will start its work and where it will end its work. So that's the magical question, I think, Ro.
Yeah, yeah. Good points. As in, like, there are siloed use cases, but AI completely taking over a complete business processes, we're still not there yet, right? And I think, Rahul, you also highlighted that from a management perspective, there's a lot of pressure. I guess you would also agree. There's always this pressure of doing more with less resources. And just like what Seshkin typically has highlighted as well, right? Maybe we should be flipping this question instead of asking the users to do more with less resources. How could we do things differently so our resources could be engaging in activities that really does add value, right? What are your perspectives there, Rahul?
Sure. Rowan, I think we're in an interesting time with oil and gas, right? Or more asset heavy industries. You're seeing companies, at least public companies that put out public results. There's been a lot of cuts. Everybody's focusing on capital efficiency, and as part of that, again, in our conversations across the board, across all regions, from Asia Pac to North America, um, teams are being asked to do more, particularly integrity and reliability teams, right? If you think about it within the context of, let's take an example of a refinery. The first take on budget generally goes to maintenance and operations. And then integrity and reliability teams are always left scrambling for budget, because it is something that is super important, but that happens or plays out in the long term. Within that context, this pressure on adopting AI, doing more with less, becomes even more critical, but even a more difficult job. I'll give you one anecdote. I was in India participating in an industry conference. I was part of a panel. I was asked the question, with AI coming, what do you think is a place that all operators should focus on? And even though we are a software vendor, my first reaction, my gut reaction was, we need to focus on the people, right?
Mhm.
As we all know, in the industry, outside of just talking about integrity, your job is not going to be replaced by AI. Your job is going to be replaced by a person who knows how to leverage AI. So those are my 2 cents there.
All right. Okay. A good point. I mean, it is. I would totally agree with you here as well, right? Technology and digital solutions will definitely bridge the gap in terms of automations and also reducing inefficiencies with manual tasks. And just like what you highlighted, right? With credible AI use cases, we should see a boost in operational efficiency across organizations. Rahul, maybe another question to you as well, right? As a leader of Cenosco, Cenosco is an exciting tech company which has seen significant growth in the last 1 year. what are some value adding AI use cases that Cenosco has already delivered to its customers? So some use cases that people are already using in organizations.
Sure. I think that's quite an interesting question, Rowan. I would say I'll first talk about how we think about AI. I think we are very focused as a company on what I would call applied AI. So there's a lot cooking in the kitchen, but I think when we go to the market and we talk to our customers, we're talking about technology that we can take and apply to their workflows today. But let me give you some interesting things that we are planning to do in 2026, for example. You and I were both part of a pipeline integrity workshop recently. We had several exciting asset owners participate. And one of their biggest requests from us was a way to apply AI tooling to get an easier way to create annual integrity reports on their pipelines. I would actually say they didn't even want the AI tooling, they just wanted to solve it one way or the other. I think we took that homework back with us and we said, look, with the current LLM technology that's out there, I think we can very easily create a workflow, a solution that will save these engineers tens of hours, days of work every year across their asset. This is true low hanging fruit that once we deliver solutions to, they deliver tangible results.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Now I've been on the other side, Rahul, and I can totally resonate with the difficulties that the customers are facing. To get out an annual report, it typically takes anywhere between 3 to 6 months for most organizations, right? So the part that is most time consuming is not the report writing; it's the actual data collection part. Data just scattered everywhere throughout the year. It's all about getting data from one Excel sheet, some data from the folders, some data sitting in CMMS systems, some data sitting in integrity management systems, pulling that all together and then coming up with an integrity status overviews across different pipelines or different mechanical integrity items has been quite challenging across organizations. So you clearly highlighted about some real quick wins. So if all the data is stored in a centralized database like IMS, Cenosco's IMS, with just a few clicks, you should be able to generate an integrity report, an annual integrity report, which is quite value adding to managers, senior managers, because they get to see the complete holistic views of their assets accordingly as well.
No, without a doubt, Rowan. I think I just want to add maybe one thing. I think you touched upon something quite interesting there. The availability of data, right?
Yep.
Data is currently spread. The reality is that data is spread across a lot of silos, and for good reason, right? I think asset owners get a lot of grief for a very diverse and very scattered IT portfolio. But I think there are very good reasons why the IT landscapes have evolved that way. I think as vendors, our job is to start from reality where we are today and give solutions that take you from where you are to where you want to be without having asset owners to do a lot of backflips and do things that you spend a lot of money on and you don't really know the outcomes to. And I think for us, we will obviously cover that in our future. One of the critical elements, one of the three key elements that we think are important to unlock any true value for AI is interoperability of systems so that you can actually pull data into a
Mhm.
centralized location to then be able to apply AI on top of that. Without that in place, I think we will fail. It's one of those chain linked problems that if one chain is broken, you're not going to get the workflow outcomes that you want.
Right. Okay. Sashkin, I would like to get your perspective, right? What are other value-adding AI use cases that the inspection and integrity community is typically looking at, and what is something that has interested you in the last 1 year?
Okay, in most of the cases, as we have indicated, facilities are getting older, they are aging. So all the inspection or the integrity departments are making more and more inspections. And with the advanced technologies, we have machines or field inspection devices that can detect or take much more the data that we have previously have in our hands. So there's a huge amount of data that we are in, but how to do what's the information, what's the value under those ones we should be discovering. So most of the aging facilities do these types of deep inspections. But I think we are not using efficiently in the field those inspections. What do they mean us, and how to conclude with those inspections? And since this big amount of data, one single engineer or inspector can lose its way on how to comment or how to understand that the result from that one. So the AI will be one of the solution for that. That huge amount of data can be processed via AI, then give some recommendations to the responsible people, the inspector or the inspection engineer, so that they can understand the value behind the finding behind that one. Then afterwards, they can give the decision. As Raul said, it's a very common thing. Nobody, their business will not be replaced. Their job will not be replaced. They will be replaced with the one that can use these technologies. It's a good saying, Raul. Thank you very much, Dan. And as you know, the utmost important thing is the efficiency.
Yeah.
Today's work. Creating a report in 3 months' time is, I don't know, not a well thing today's world. So it should be changing. So most of the companies or the people working should be prepared for how to change that efficiency
Mhm.
problem.
All right, good, good. Anything you'd like to add here, Rahul?
No, I completely agree with Sachkin. The one thing I would like to add, I recently read a article in an industry magazine that the number of reliability and integrity engineers leaving the workforce is accelerating. In the last 10 years, the industry has lost incredible talent. And there were several key challenges that people identified, but one of them was, people are getting, or these engineers are getting super frustrated with their environments. They are spending most of their day justifying to their managers why their job exists, another part justifying the budgets that they need, and then the rest trying to get data through different silos. So I think, again, we're very, very positive about the future. We are technologists. So from our perspective, we see our role as creating the future that can make the situation better.
Mhm.
So challenge accepted.
Good, good. Looking forward to that as well. One interesting thing that you mentioned, Rahul, is for AI to effectively work right, we need to have interoperable systems. Sashkin, what are your thoughts so far with AI in general? Like, where has AI failed to deliver, and what are some considerations organizations need to have in order to have mature AI use cases?
I think AI is, as we use the buzzword, it becomes a very general thing that the people are working with. We should be having some solid examples for those ones. For example, let's think about inspection of a vessel, and you're having UT measurements on those ones. This is an everyday job for an ordinary inspector. So when you have those ones, there should be some way to just guide them through what they do. And if they have some problems with the measurements, they should be diverted in some different ways. So, but doing this in an offline manner, taking the measurement and making the assessment in the office, and if something is different decided on, taking again measurements in the field, this makes it very impossible or ineffective way to work on. So when we try to make some improvement in our works or increase the efficiency, we should be thinking about our workflows so that we can just penetrate in those ones as we can take the exactly what we need. In that manner, as you said, Robin, the interoperability within the data that we collect is very different again. For example, when you take the contractor entities, there are lots of information they are making, and they just write one page of report and give everything. So what's the what's the valuable data, valuable information is in the report, but we can only read that one, and nobody knows the value underneath.
Mhm. Correct, correct. No, it is quite resonatable, right? I will add my perspective here as well. Whereas AI failed to deliver, um, AI, in my opinion, is still in the infancy stage. We are still exploring with detection models. There's quite a number of detection models out there trying to detect defects, degradation mechanisms, degradation modes. And detection models need a lot of data to be trained as well, right? And the way detection models are typically being trained is by a set of humans as well. So humans are putting their efforts, time, energy to train models so that the models could be better in the future. And one of the big reasons here is because detection models are not too conservative. So for me, it's okay for detection models to have false positives. So what I mean by that is that even if there's not a defect, it's okay to pick it up as a defect and show it to the user. But false negatives is usually unacceptable. So if there is a defect and the model is not able to pick it up, then that becomes a bit questionable, right? So the technology is questioned, the model is questioned, and so on as well. And we provide solutions to highly regulated environment. So there has to be real justifiable transparency across the board as well. So for me, that's one key area where AI would have to improve, and with more data, with more time, with training of models, that could typically improve. And number two is predictive models, right? Predictive models in many cases is also disregarding operational context. So if there is a process upset, if there is a fouling, how could that specific event contribute to a specific damage mechanism, damage mode, or corrosion rate accordingly as well? So these are some areas where I feel there is a lot of improvement to be made. There's a number of siloed use cases, but I personally don't think we are there yet. Rahul, what are your thoughts there?
No, that's very interesting, Rowan. Another thing that we've noticed across the board, particularly in some of our conversations with larger asset owners, so think the super majors, it's quite interesting that you mentioned detection models. You fly a drone over an asset, you capture a lot of data, and you're trying to get to a system that can recognize, let's say, corrosion with a high degree of certainty. I think what has happened is, there's another saying in technology: people overestimate the impact of technology in the short term and underestimate it in the long term. I think we are all, not just the asset heavy industries, but across the world, we're falling into that trap with AI. That's just at least our viewpoint, or at least my viewpoint, where I think I see a lot of AI POCs. That's what I would say most of these things are, being focused on trying to create this utopian outcome, right? Let's solve the biggest problem with this nascent technology. And when this nascent technology gets applied to this very large, very big, complex problem, you tend to fail. And so again, as we said, from a Cenosco perspective, we're taking, there's a very, there was a recently famous movie, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. So we would like to tackle this problem short, medium, and long term. Short term, we go after the really low hanging fruits. We focus on creating capacity, time, and space for integrity, reliability, safety engineers. These are the disciplines that we cater to. In the medium term, we start to mature some of these use cases, and in the long term is when we really go after that big bang outcomes that people want to achieve, are forecasting to achieve.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, good point. Good point. Maybe one additional question, guys. Rahul, you mentioned, or we were just talking about if AI is being pushed from the top down too fast. Should it?
Mhm.
How should that continue? What's your perspective there?
I think that's a great question. I think I have to look inwards as well. I'm an executive pushing AI from top down within Cenosco as well, right? We all talk about it. I think one of the biggest concerns that shareholders, boards, executives have is that the cost of losing the AI race is far too large, right? So if you're left, or if you were snoozing and then the train passed you and you're lagging behind, the cost would be insurmountable. So think about two super majors competing with each other. one adopts AI technology faster than the other, the outcomes and the improvement in margins would be so high that it's gonna make the executives of the other company look really really stupid in some ways, being very blunt about it. So I would say no. I think executives should continue to focus on AI. They should be paranoid about it. However, I think they need to be more in tune to what's happening on the ground, right?
Mhm.
They should be more in tune to the investments that they need to make. AI is not magic; it's another technology shift, and every technology shift comes with it certain prerequisites of investment. Your data, your systems need to be connected. You need to have systems that can structure your data correctly. Only then will AI work for you. So they should be paranoid. They should be thinking about it. They should be pushing their teams towards better outcomes. However, they should also be practical and they should have the empathy to understand what's happening on the ground.
Very good point. Sashkin, maybe we'll just flip it over to you, right? So, this level of optimism is not there with the engineers. I would like to get your perspective on why should this change?
Yeah, I mean, in the perspective of the engineers, they mostly focus on their own work. But when it comes from the top, from the CEO level, to use the AI in their workflows or the daily works, then it becomes some idea thing and lights on. So after that one, they start thinking about how we can improve our work accordingly with the AI, the new technology, the MLs, and then they require some more information and competencies in their daily lives. So when the top management is just pushing down that requirement with the AI, they should understand the requirement of the people, their competencies, and in some cases they will require some training or some adaptation phases and try to make their system compatible with the AI cases. Then we should also listen those guys accordingly, so that we can increase how AI will be used in our daily lives, so we can achieve the short-term targets accordingly. And then afterwards, when we see the benefits from the short term, most probably people will be following that midterm and long-term targets. So they will have the more technical knowledge deep inside that one. As you know, when you try to make a deeper analysis, you should be having much more information underneath. So in the short term, we will be preparing reports with the AI, and in the long term, those reports will be assessed with the AI and make a deeper knowledge about those ones, where it's just, as you know, the machine learning thing and combining all the information.
Mhm. No, I could agree to your point. At this point, AI being in the infant stage, majority of the use cases are going towards detection, but over time that will evolve, and a good amount of AI use cases will come over in the analysis phase, and also allowing users and organizations, helping users and organizations with the decision making phase as well. So I think, what are your thoughts there, Rahul?
Now, Rowan, I wanted to say, I think Sachkin, you brought up something very, very interesting, right? It's the people. It's the people, stupid, right? I think um, you can have the best systems in the world. I think everybody listening to this conversation can recognize this. You can have the best systems. You can spend a lot of money on setting up those systems, but if your people don't accept that system, it's going to fail. I've seen sold, been part of several large, digital transformation projects. Consistently, the one thing that made them successful is that the people were put at front and center. The systems were designed around the challenges on the ground around the people, and there we took care about change management training, getting the people to use the systems in better ways. And I think, again, even though we are software vendors first, at least Roman and I, we wear a software vendor hat. I think whenever we engage with new customers, we talk to them about the importance of change management. Whenever our tool can deliver incredible amounts of ROI, However, in the past, wherever we've struggled, being very honest, it's been where we haven't worked with the customer on a plan of change management, getting the users on the field to be able to understand the value of the technology and upskilling them to be able to use the technology correctly.
Yeah, good. Focusing on the people is something that you both definitely agree. But Sashkin, what are some other key areas that the industry has to focus when we look ahead, right? Look ahead into 2026 and beyond. What would you reckon would be other areas that the industry has to look into?
In that manner, first, the quality of the data and what you have in the data in your system, how you store the data. That's the important part. Since if you have a structured and stored good data, then it will be easier to combine all of these. And when you just take into account all of these ones, then it will be easier to drive a conclusion from those ones. And another thing is to make them available to the people so that the people can understand the interconnection with those ones. And when training the AI or the ML issues, they can use these ones. If they are not aware, they cannot teach that. So, and this comes to the point that some people should be training what we have in our hands. So when it's just not only buying a system and putting training trained people in that one, then you should be having some time for them to use that in their own competencies. So it's not just only buy and use that tool and it will be magic in one day. It will not be exactly a one-day issue.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. As in, like, data is definitely the foundation or a backbone for a strong AI foundation, right? And as of today, what I see as well, Sashkin, is that sites are already leveraging the use of continuous data, right? Data coming from sensors, remote inspections, autonomous inspections. And how do you see this progressing into 2026 and beyond, right? Could we expect the way we collect data will significantly shift towards such continuous techniques? Or do you reckon conventional data collection would still prevail majorly in the short term, but eventually we will make that switch towards continuous monitoring much more effectively?
I think the way we collect the data is shifted in after the pandemics, because when we have those ones, those issues in the field, then everybody tried to convert some data collection issues in a more automatic way. Let's say the sensors or the remote inspection tools, maybe also robotics. And but when they produce a huge amount of data across the, when we compare to the human, that human inspectors. But in the future, this trend will continue to go upwards, and we will be having much and much more sensors or data collectors, let's say, data collectors in the field. These automatic data collectors will require much more filtering under their capabilities. So we should be understanding what is collected from the field. So for your question, Robin, it's been a long answer, but yes, we will be having much and much more data collection tools in the field, and it will continue to rise exactly in the forthcoming years, not only in the 2026, but much more longer than those ones.
Right. Okay. Rahul, I've got an interesting question, and this is probably the most asked question by our audience today. There's a lot of excitement about Cenosco. So, what is Cenosco doing with AI in 2026, and how is like the AI roadmap looking like in the next 2 to 5 years?
Sure, that's a great point, Rowan. I think I want to tie it to something that you asked Sechkin, and Sechkin, I think, and we are quite aligned on. again, just asking the question, what will Cenosco do with AI? I think before we talk about that, we should talk about how Cenosco thinks about the future of integrity. What do we believe about the future? Based on that, I think we will then make the bets, right? So you need to have a belief about the future, and then as a technology company, we can make technology bets to then either make that future happen or be a meaningful player in that future. So the first thing I would say is, at least as an outsider, so I'm caveating that quite heavily, with 2 years coming in, talking to a lot of people, I feel like integrity, reliability, functional safety can be quite static today. Not everywhere, but in most cases. We capture data uh, at snapshots in time, and then we apply probabilistic statistical models to that data. And then, based on the answers, the outcomes of that statistical model, we take decisions, whether that's think of RBI, corrosion management, things like that. I would say to what Sechkin just said, we think of a future for an asset as highly connected, lots of sensors, robot dogs running around. You have drones flying everywhere, giving you real time data all the time, every time. In this future, I think it is only rational for integrity and reliability to become real time. What do we mean by that? Because we have so much data, and then we have this technology like AI that can parse through such large volumes of data, we should be able to get better outcomes. Now, that doesn't mean that the human get goes out of the loop. The human is always involved. Don't forget that we are part of um, a compliance ecosystem as well. If you think about, self-driving cars, if something happens, who do you assign responsibility to? I think that is compounded significantly in the integrity and reliability industry. And so, very positive, very bullish on this technology first future, sensors everywhere, real-time data flow. And so, what will Cenosco do? Number one, we are building out a best-in-class interface layer, interoperability layer, to be able to pull data from anywhere and anything, whether it's a robot dog or whether it's your SAP system. I think that's crucial. Number two, we need to be able to store that data, something that Sechkin mentioned as well. AI can own the dirty secret within the AI community is, I'll give you an example. I was having dinner with 4 people from DeepMind, which is the AI arm of Google. And what you hear from them is Google has an army of people uh, training their AI models almost on a daily basis manually. And so what that means is there is a huge manual element in this whole thing, right? So training of that data and structuring of the data is very, very important. So we need to be able to pull the right data. Number two, we need to structure the data correctly so that we can apply AI. And then final element is where you get to what people think of as AI, the AI model, which will act on that data. So where do we stand today? I think we already have made a very good start on the interoperability layer. So middle of this year, we launched our Kafka-based platform. Super powerful, generally used in financial banking systems where integrity and the reliability of your data is very important. We have just rolled out the first few live integrations with some customers around the world this quarter, and that's going to start ramping up next year. Going into 2026, we're going to start working on the second element, which is really structuring that data in a way that we can apply AI models. And then going forward is when we will start seeing things like, we've just put out a very interesting blog post on this topic. Things like a degradation mechanism copilot that helps engineers take better decisions, reduce the cognitive workload, and really focus on outcomes rather than data collection. So, long winded answer, but those are some exciting things that we're focusing on.
Great, great. So when I decode what you just said, so there's a number of minor AI use cases that is fitting into the bigger holistic picture. So for the audience, do check out the AI blog post that's going out. It should be up on our website. So do check it out as well. Sashkin, some credible use cases to look out for from an industry perspective in 2026 or beyond.
Some credible things. Yeah, exactly. The data, especially what we have in our hands will change. But as a responsibility point of view, we will have exactly the same responsibility to decide on this equipment will be working or not. Then we should be deciding accordingly. I think we will be having more conscious decisions with the help of AI, but it will not be in 2026. But how we collect and improve our workflow, it will be in 2026 exactly. I think that's the short form of what we can be talking about.
Right. Okay. Thank you. So before we move to the questions, Sashkin, what is one key takeaway that you would want the audience to take home with?
Okay. Exactly. Keep an on AI. So how the improvements are getting on the ground, because it's again a buzzword and popular word everybody likes to talk about, but there is no significant work. But nowadays, there are so much improvements about AI use cases. Then just keep an eye on that one and think about how you can apply this in your daily life. Or people should be keeping this in mind so that they can improve their work.
Good. Perfect. Rahul, what's your final message?
My gut says focus on your people. I think they are at the focus on your engineers, keep them happy, give them the budgets that they need to set up the prerequisites that make AI possible. Right. So if I could speak to executives directly en masse, I would say AI is a reality, will become a bigger reality. It will take more and more repetitive work off our plates. But it is super important that owners invest, companies invest in the prerequisites of AI, of which, in my opinion, the people, systems, and processes are very important.
Very good answer. Can't agree more. Well, my message would be to just watch out for the space. AI as a technology is definitely transformational, but as a group, we need to first crawl before we run. So for organizations, a data and AI strategy has to be a lot robust before even thinking about investing in scalable AI solutions, right? And in the short term, we will have a number of siloed use cases. But if we focus on AI applications across work processes and look at connecting the dots, I think that would be immensely powerful in the longer run. Okay, Ivana, I think you're back. So I will hand it back over to you and we can just answer a few more questions from our audience.
Yes, thank you, Rowan. And gentlemen, thank you so much for this fantastic discussion. It was really a pleasure listening to you. And I think each and one of the people in our audience can take something away from this discussion as well. So, as Rowan said, let's move on to the questions. And Rahul, I have the first one for you. So, what job changes will occur in the oil and gas industry as a result of advancement in AI? What is your opinion on that?
It's a very, very interesting question. Even I'm going to give a slightly politically correct short to medium term answer. I think in the next 5 years, the roles and the profiles will not change. However, the skills required, let's say, for a corrosion engineer will change. If you will come across a corrosion engineering hiring profile on LinkedIn, it is definitely going to talk about somebody who understands AI tooling, somebody who can leverage that tooling and be able to implement that to improve workflows, do more with less. So I truly don't think, I think, what was very surprising for me when I started visiting refineries, chemical plants, upstream, midstream, downstream assets was the sheer size, scale, and complexity of the energy infrastructure, for example. I think people who don't experience or touch this world, it's very difficult to imagine how complex it is, the things that can go wrong, the risk that our users manage as speaking as an IMS vendor. So from that perspective, I would say that the actual names and the profiles will not change, but the skills required from those profiles will change.
All right. Thank you for that, Rahul. Rowan, I have the next question for you. So, how can AI improve the confidence level of RBI due to poor data?
Well, yeah, what I can say is that AI could potentially increase your confidence by quantifying the uncertainty, right? So, what I mean by that is that traditional approaches, how we do things today, let's take a scenario where we're trying to calculate a corrosion rate or a remaining life, right? So that is typically a corrosion rate, let's say zero point 0.1 millimeter per year, and we come out with a remnant life accordingly. So as we move towards AI models, we will have outputs with ranges. So anywhere corrosion rate anywhere ranging between zero point 0.1 to zero point 0.5 millimeter per year, with a confidence level as well, 80% confidence, 90% confidence, or 20% confidence as well. So what happens with these kind of approaches is that your data is typically backed by level of confidence bounds depending upon how your data is structured, depending upon how your trend plots have been analyzed in terms of pattern recognition and things like that. And that will help much more in terms of driving RBIs and driving decisions from RBIs as well. So that way, people will be quite certain when to use high quality data and when you cannot. But to answer this question, right, how can AI improve the confidence level of RBI due to poor quality data? I think you need data for effective AI models to work. So if your data is poor, then your starting point is typically flawed. So AI cannot fix your poor data. AI can structure your poor data. AI can read your poor data and come up with outcomes. But if you start utilizing those outcomes for running RBI assessments, then it is not definitely a good way forward, I would say. So we need to be fixing our data before we incorporate AI into the ecosystem.
AI
Abs-
might be able to help you identify where your data is poor, but again,
Ex-
it will not be able to fix your data.
Exactly. Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rowan. We still have a few minutes, so I have a few more questions to go. I'm not going to give you an easy break. Setkin, the next one is for you.
Yeah,
How
exactly.
can field inspection integrate with AI?
That's the thing, as Rowan saw, how to fix the poor data then it comes after that one. AI can just divert you and guide you through that one, how to increase confidence by making different kinds of inspections in the field or additional inspections in the field. Then it will be the helpful way, the magic stick in the field that you should be collecting the data so that poor data will be fixed, what you collect from the field. Then your confidence will be increasing and it will directly affect the RBI results. So this will exactly be making your inspection planning and inspection workload accordingly the lower. So when we integrate AI, they will just guide us through the way that we should be reaching to make our planning and workload lower.
Great. I have one question, either for Rahul or Rowan, and it's a very interesting one. So, does relying on AI reduce human errors or increase risks?
Rowan, you want to go first?
Yes. What I can say is that human interpretations could vary, right? But with strong models that are being, if we use strong AI models, what I would say is that decisions would be based on fixed set of logics and criterias. So I would say with time, once we have strong models embedded within systems, I think that would be much more reliant when it comes to when it comes to direct comparisons with a human doing the same work.
Got it.
Rahul, what are your thoughts there?
Look, I can answer this two ways, Rowan. I think one is wearing the tinfoil hat and going on the side of Elon Musk. In 20 years' time, all work is optional, AI has achieved singularity. Again, we're not there yet. Again, we're also not forecasting 15, 20 years down the line. We're really thinking 3 to 5 years. So within that, what I would say is I think people need to have realistic expectations of what AI can and cannot do. I think AI is very, very good and will continue to be very good to give you an 80-20 answer, right? Get you to 80% of your analysis very, very quickly. However, that final 20%, if the requirement of the confidence interval is very high, you need to get to a 95, 99% answer. You do need that human context. You will need that engineer who has spent time walking around an asset, who understands the complexity of the physical environment that the asset operates in to be able to make the better outcome. So I would say using AI, taking a step back, using AI does not increase risk, but that means that you're not just dumping your entire workload on AI. I think that would increase risk. But if you take your existing system and then add AI as a tool that your team uses to manage their work, I think that definitely improves your risk profile. So if there are executives out there who think that AI will help them, let go of their entire integrity teams and then just let a system run everything, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Perfect. And with that, we actually ran out of time. So once again, Rahul, Sejkin, Rowan, thank you. For everybody watching, thank you for being part of Cenosco's webinars in 2025. We have a lot more coming next year. So please keep following us and keep joining in our discussions. You can find all the latest news on our LinkedIn account and, of course, on our website. We make all of our webinars available for replay in case you want to rewatch them later on. From everyone in Cenosco, we wish you happy holidays and a fantastic and successful year end. We will see you again on January 27th for our next webinar. Gentlemen and the audience, thank you so much.